The second, to me, the second album is better than the first one, production wise, because we grew up.
Sure.
We grew up. But the first album is still the better, it's just not the better sounding, but just the classic album.
Of course.
You can't replace the original.
Of course.
But the second album, is more, we use less samples and stuff, more musicians playing it, but it was a harder album.
Mm-hmm.
And the people was wondering, can we do it without Cube? So that's when we came up, when we did the 100 Miles of Running EP.
Yeah.
Because then that's when Dre stepped into his spot, because Cube was 1/3 of the rappers.
Sure.
So he left, and then people wondering, can they feel them shoot? So Dre just stepped up, because Dre only rapped on Express Yourself and on the last song, just one verse. That's it. That's all he did. But in the Wrecking Crew days, he rapped.
Wow.
Him and Clientele, or him and Shakespeare. But so the last album, he had to come up and be 1/3 of the rappers again. So and he filled right in. He filled right in.
Of course. He had a song on there called For Life. It was called the title album, but there was a song on there called For Life, where again MT Ren, who said it was talked about police harassment, and I think Easy had a verse on there talking about he gets treated like a disease.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh yeah. I mean, think about what we rapped about is reality, real.
Sure.
When we open our door in the ghetto, that's what we rapped about. We didn't rap about New York, London, Disneyland, because we had never been. So we only rapped about what we knew, what we seen, what we heard, and stuff. That's it. It's so crazy. Yeah, Compton was our ghetto, but there's Comptons in everywhere, all around the world, just different names. The Bronx, London, Newcastle, it's all kind of ghettos everywhere. But I guess that's how people can relate. They just can relate. Because think about it. We was underground reporters. We just reported what we see. That's all we talked about.
Exactly. After the album was released, I didn't know this until I read your book. After the album was released, you describe as kind of heart and soul went out of the group. Can you kind of expand on that?
Well, it was kind of really when we was mixing the album. Me and Dre mixed all the stuff. And the first side of back then, it was on the album, side A and side B. We mixed the first side A like normal. It take us a couple of days to mix one side of the album. But on the side B, we kind of rushed it. If you really listen to it, the first half is mixed better than the second half of the album. So we took our time very well on the first half, but the second half, we did like a whole album in one day, half an album that we usually do 2 songs, maybe 3 in a day mixing. So we really take our time mixing, and it was kind of weird, it's kind of, to me, we probably one of the first, maybe one of the only groups, when we hit #1 on Billboard, we shipped gold, which that was unheard of for hip hop.
Sure.
We shipped gold, but we was really broken up when that happened. So we didn't break up at the bottom. We broke up at the top, at the peak. What groups break up at the peak?
Exactly.
I don't know what groups have, but we was, so it was just kind of, it's just weird. But the thing is, Cube had to leave so he can get big. And the group had to get dissolved. I say more dissolved, because nobody was mad at each other. Even when Q left, nobody was mad. It just had to dissolve. And that's how Trey got big. Because he kept doing music. Me, I stopped doing music once E had passed. So I was done with music. So that's why I didn't do music no more.
Sure.
But it's just amazing that at #1, the group was over, which is crazy. But think about it. It dissolved, but 30 years later, we number one again.
Exactly.
which is unheard of, I'm quite sure.
Of course.
Very few groups. I don't even know if the Stones could do that.
Exactly. I mean, you guys only released two albums. I think it was two.
People think it's more, but it's 2 albums and 1 EP.
Sure.
That's it.
Sure. And the impact you guys have had, it's mind blowing.
Yeah,
it's mind blowing. You know, like you said, you kind of, the group kind of bowed out at the top, like,
yeah.
You know, number one.
I mean, because think about it. It's kind of better we broke up with just the 2 albums instead of making 4 or 5. Then they start getting weaker and weaker, and ain't nobody listen to you.
Yeah,
we broke up. It was right there. 30 years later.